something I was going to say is, I mean, I've been on your personal website, KymBradshaw.com, is it? Or something like that?
Something like that, I don't know.
Put Kym Bradshaw, and it's KYM that you need to put in, not KIM, KYM. Yeah, have a look on there, because I was going to come on to some of the other work that you've been involved in recent years.
Yeah.
And if you listen to the samples of music on your website, it's a very eclectic mix of music. It's very diverse.
Yeah.
I mean, you've got the Operation Twofold A and B side, so people can get to listen to it on that. But what I wanted to do is touch upon, the diversity of the music that's coming out of your head.
Yeah.
And I'd kind of like to get into your mind. I mean, if you go on, I'll sort of cite some of the tracks here, because I mean that's the best way to address it, really. But you've done an instrumental, "Good Times Louisiana," which is an instrumental. It's totally alien to Hold Me. You got "Man Overboard," which I suppose I was thinking to myself, well, how does that remind me? Not quite the Pogues, but it's got a kind of folk, sea shanty meets, you've got the modern folk idiom like bellowhead. It kind of fits into the more of the folk, contemporary folk music, I suppose.
Yeah.
But again, it's so different to the other stuff, but it's done with a certain aplomb. It's got a kind of raw edge to it, which is to be commended. And then, don't even ask me to pronounce this. I'm going to leave you to. But it's Deutsche something or the other.
No, it's Das Weigenlied.
Yeah,
or Veganlight. No, Das Veganlight.
Yeah, well,
it's German, and it's Veganlight is Cradle Song, and it's a German lullaby.
Yeah.
And I wrote that on piano.
Yeah.
Once again, that was a mistake as I was practicing my E scales in my left hand.
Yeah.
And you make a lot of mistakes doing that. And I thought, actually, I'll go back and, that's it. And that was written in about 3 minutes.
Yeah. So that's kind of, that you could argue that's your current musical CV on a website.
It is. Yeah.
What else is in the can? What other, have you got other stuff that's ready to roll and be recorded?
It's all, a real mixed bag, really. I've got about another 25, 26 songs which are of the same standard as that. But
so would you'd call them at the demo level at the moment? Would you, they're sort of, have you recorded them sort of onto sort of like basic equipment or anything? Or?
We just recorded them all here, one off, so that if there is a fire in my house, the tapes aren't,
the masters of the backup.
Yeah, because they're all on bits of tape.
Yes.
In a plastic bag in my house.
So now we've got them digitised,
yes,
have we?
Yeah.
So is the intention to sort of build on them and enhance the production slightly?
We'll record them properly with the production team here.
Yeah.
But we have to wait and see what happens with Hold Me.
So it's a case of like Project A funds Project B and so on and so forth. So you need one to be successful to take you to the next level.
To the next level. Certainly, as far as Operation Twofold is concerned, there's more than enough material there to fill a couple of albums.
Yeah. And so it's a case of seeing how the single goes. Then if that works, what would be the next stage? Going out live,
going
or
out
making
live,
an album, or
both?
So simultaneously, even. Yeah, that's the word I'm looking for. And I suppose really beyond that, obviously Operation Twofold is one. Is there kind of a Kym Bradshaw kind of solo album in the offing? Is that another option?
Yeah, what I've done with the instrumentals, I've already got a publishing deal for that Cajun one. That's gone off to America to be used in films and TV. With the classical piece, I would like to put that to a German librettist who could do the lyrics for it, and then record it properly with a choir singing in German, and also I'd put a key change at the end. I didn't think about that at the time, but needs a key change. So those are the things that are in the future, really.
Yeah, you can see why you need the Operation Twofold to work, because funding an orchestral situation is obviously
in Germany.
In Germany.
That's an expensive undertaking.
That is, but as I said, so it's kind of like step A first, and kind of let's keep everything crossed that the promotion works on that. People get to listen to it, and so that you can kind of get your career on a new wavelength, I suppose.
Well, yeah. Funny about that classical piece, that made it into the finals of the Great American Songwriting Competition, which I was pretty chuffed with that. They wrote me a nice little note to say how nice it was and everything. So that was good.
You don't get invited to the White House for tea off the back of that, then,
no. But it was nice.
Yeah, I suppose what I would say is, if we're talking about recording, you were talking about the Saints, you did that kind of single that you just did a self-promotion thing on, and it worked for you. I guess that in the current musical climate, it's true to say, I mean, I go and see an awful lot of live gigs, and you've got artists who are maybe on the way up or the way down, but resurrecting themselves. And it seems quite common these days for people not to be too concerned about signing for major labels. No. They self-promote their work. You go to a gig and it's quite often that they will play live, and interval they will say, we are going to be selling our album and signing it. And it's kind of very much getting close to the audience. And I think that comparables can be made with the kind of punk era, which was very DIY.
Yeah.
You had the magazines like Sniffing Glue magazine and everything. And I think that, would you agree that the way music is promoted these days, that there are similarities, obviously not in the recording process, because we've talked about the sophistication that's available. But how do you kind of view the music industry and the way that you promote music now? I mean,
well, the music industry now is like it was in 1976, quite sterile, controlled by major labels, but it's actually even worse now. Mm-hmm. The songs that hit the charts are all written to the same formula. They don't have things like middle eights. They don't have bridges. It's exactly the same rhythm. You can't tell one song from the other, because the attitude of record companies is what is selling now.
I mean, I see situations like with the Sony label where they will sign an artist on a contract and one album, and they seem to be out.
Oh, yeah. Just on that though, I mean, in the 60s and 70s, record companies would develop an artist, and that artist would go on and on and on and still sell songs today, like Ray Davies, for example.
Yes.
David Bowie is still selling songs 40 years on. Record companies do not want to develop artists. They just want a very quick turnaround, as if they're Tesco's or something.
Yeah. So, with the current kind of crop of musicians, is there anybody out there that you actually would say you admire?
Yeah, there's a guy called James Morrison. I've heard one of his songs. He's got a great voice, and he's very good songwriter. I really liked his stuff. He's a sort of an oasis in a desert, listening to that guy. Yeah, he's good.
And I suppose to round it up then, sort of just push to shove, I always ask people this in an interview, who are your favourite musical influences?
The overall musical influence, and it might sound a bit, I don't know, immodest or whatever, but the guy who actually started the show was Johann Sebastian Bach. He was the father of modern Western music. And you can hear his work today. You can hear it over the centuries.
Yeah.
Paul Simon writes to the same thing that Bach does. So does Bruce Springsteen. And this guy, James Morrison, uses the same sort of technique of discord and resolution. He uses sympathetic minors, etc.
Yeah.
So Bach was the daddy of them all. And then, this great Paul Simon, he lists thousands of them. Great songwriters.
But it just shows you, when you look at some of the, the landmarks of your musical career, and that's the inspiration behind it. People will find that hard to believe, but I think that's perhaps because they haven't opened their minds enough to realise that what comes out of the most minor influence, sometimes even,
it's if you look into the history of songwriting. I mean, some of the patterns were invented by the Greeks a couple of thousand years ago. And you can still hear that, whether you're in Ireland or whether you're in Greece.
I think music has been plagiarised through the centuries, and it's just how you adapt it and turn it into something that's current, or if you're really, really clever, you make it into something that's current and becomes timeless.
Well, it's like, with Man Overboard, you take a barcarola, which was invented in Italy.
For the uninitiated, do you want to sort of explain a barcarola to people?
Barcarola is Italian, and it means rolling boat. And that's why you get the rolling 6/8 sound.
Oh, right.
And that was invented in Venice in the 17th century. And then it was taken up by guys like Schubert. It was taken up by Offenbach. And then you hear it on Classic FM.
Yep.
and then 12 months later, it sort of somehow seeps out, and lo and behold, you've got a barcarola, a rolling boat.
So that light bulb moment in your head, a spontaneous moment, but something obviously clocked itself in there somewhere in the memory bank and resurrected itself, did it?
Exactly. And then you to bring it up to date, you then introduce modern themes like what's happened in this country to working class people, if that's not too...
No, I mean, music has always, through the centuries, been political. Social comment is, some of the great tunes and everything, and it's all just one big melting pot, really, isn't it?
It is, yeah.
Well, Kym, have you got anything else you want to add, or should we...
No, I think we've covered it all. I think we've been...
The history of Kym Bradshaw, just to reiterate... The new single, which will be available on vinyl and download. That's Operation Twofold. Hold Me is the A-side, and I think it's worthy to say that the B-side is more than just an add-on. It's worthy of inclusion and worth listening to as well. And I can just wish you all the best for the future.
Thanks very much.
And success with the project and some of the things you've got in mind for the future.
Okay, thank you.
So thanks very much.
Okay.